Is anyone here to pray? Is anyone here to pray? Now we are going to read Daniel 6 from verse 1. Use King James to read verse 1 to 3. Then we enter to Message Bible from 4.
Daniel chapter 6 from verse 1.
I want you to see something that is right. King James from 1 to 3.
King James Version 1 to 3.
Yeah.
It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. And over these three presidents, of whom Daniel was first.
Of whom Daniel was what? First.
That the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel.
Then, I want you to take note of this. Then, this Daniel
was preferred above the presidents.
Then, this Daniel was preferred above others.
And princes. Because an excellent
Now, underline because. Sir, the word prefer came because something exists. This Daniel was preferred against others, above others, sorry. And why? Because something was on him.
Because an excellent spirit
was in him.
And the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Message Bible. The vice regents and governors got together.
They came. Now, listen. Anytime you carry an excellent spirit, enemies will rise. Sir, hear you this truth. Moment some excellent spirit began to manifest in you, be ready to fight some wars. That is why you must not keep your mouth shut. Moment you locate some certain potential is bringing forth in you. Many great men were rising great, but suddenly quenched and never rise till they die. Why? They did not understand the side. An excellent spirit was found in him. Where you think everybody should be celebrating you and praising you and be loving you, am I right? No. They all gang up together. Let's read so you see it. They gang up together. They gang up. Why? Because a man carries something that is not common. Yeah? Read.
The vice regents and governors got together to find some old scandals. Or skeleton. In Daniel's life that they could use against him.
That they will use against who? Against who? Against who? The man that has the excellent spirit? Okay.
But they couldn't.
That means there was no one available for them. Yeah?
But they couldn't dig up anything.
Yeah?
He was totally exemplary and trustworthy. They could find no evidence of negligence or misconduct. So they finally gave up and said,
Hey, this is where many people miss it. See how many people miss it? They looked for something against Daniel. They couldn't find anyone. The Bible said they finally gave up. But if you check it, they did not surrender. That your enemy gave up at a face doesn't mean they are not looking for another face. That the things you used to experience before something like a calamity befall you has not ceased doesn't mean the enemies have ceased. Life is full of war. The Bible said they couldn't find, they gave up. But let's see where they surrendered.
So they finally gave up and said,
Hear a statement.
We are never going to find anything against this Daniel.
We are never. That means they said, we will continue, we'll just be wasting our time. But they devised an armies.
Unless we can cook up something religious.
Unless we can cook up something religious. Now they have entered the danger part. Because Daniel was a religious fellow. They entered to the point where Daniel wasn't ready to surrender. Sir, your enemies will come to a point where they know you are not ready to compromise. At that point, you need the power of the one you know. I want us to see the scriptures. I've been going through this scripture, but the early hours of this morning, God began to throw more light in this very scripture. Yeah, Risa.
So they finally
gave
up and said.
They gave up. Now, I see. They finally gave up, but they were still talking something. Their talking was in another level of initiation of something else.
We are never going to find anything against this Daniel.
Yeah.
Unless we can cook up something religious.
Yeah.
The vice regents and governors conspired together.
Yeah.
And then went to the king and said.
They went to the king and said,
King Darius,
live
forever.
Live. They have started praising the king. Now, if you check the scripture, you'll find out that the king loved Daniel. But they went and praised the king and used another formula. Read.
We've convened your vice regents, governors, and all your leading officials, and have agreed that the king.
Now, hear the statement. In this statement, they included Daniel. In this very statement, they included Daniel, but Daniel was not among. Whenever your enemies is devising a means against you, they will include you even when you are not among. Why? How did they include him? They said, we governors and all your leaders, we have agreed. But Daniel was not there. Daniel was one of the governors. Daniel was one of the leaders. But he was not among. But they said, all we have agreed. So they included him. Risa.
We've convened your vice regents, governors, and all your leading officials, and have agreed that the king should issue the following decree. For the next 30 days, no one is to pray to any god or mortal except
Why will
you.
they use 30 days? Have I taught you about the number 30 in this church? Why did they use it 29 days? Why did they use 10 days? Why 30 days?
For the next 30 days, no one is to pray to any god or mortal except you, O king.
O king.
Anyone who disobeys will be thrown into the lion's den. Issue this decree, O king.
O king.
And make it unconditional.
Make it unconditional. There is no room for escape. There is no room for mercy. There is no room for atonement. Make it unconditional.
As if written in stone, like the laws of the Medes and the Persians.
Put your signature on it.
King Darius signed the decree.
He signed the decree.
When Daniel learned that the decree had been signed
when
and posted,
Daniel had, the word learned, had, that the decree has been signed. Let's find out what happened.
he continued to pray just as he had always done.
Did you hear it? Many hear the conspiracy against them and began to cry. Many hear the conspiracy against them, or they had a vision of the enemy against them. They began to run from one place to another. But the Bible said Daniel continued to pray as he has always been doing. He continued to pray. When we say pray, I'm showing you from scripture the potency of prayer. The Bible says, as he has always done. Am I right? He has always been doing. That means he has been praying, but he never stops the conspiracy. That you prayed or you have been praying will never stop your enemies or enemies rising against you. And he had it. He prayed. Read, sir.
His house had windows.
His house had windows?
In the upstairs that opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he knelt there in prayer, thanking and praising his God.
Thanking and praising his God.
The conspirators came and found him praying.
The conspirators came. Underline the word came. They came. That means the conspirators was not stagnant. Hey, if you think your conspirators will be stagnant, you're making a mistake. The Bible said, and the conspirators came. That means they weren't stagnant. They weren't in one place. They were moving around, looking for what they desired to do. They came.
Asking God for help. They went straight to the king and reminded him of the royal decree that he had signed. Did you not, they said, sign a decree forbidding anyone to pray to any god or man except you for the next 30 days? And anyone caught doing it will be thrown into the lion's den? Absolutely, said the king. Written in stone.
Written in stone.
Like all the laws of the Medes and Persians. Then they said, Daniel, one of the Jewish exiles, ignores you, O king.
Oh, I've insulted you, O king.
And defies your decree. 3 times a day he prays. At this, the king was very upset. At this information, the king was very wroth. And tried his best to get Daniel out of the fix he had put him in.
Do you hear it? The king loved him. So the king began to look for a medium to escape Daniel from the penalty. But they came earlier unknowing to him and persuaded him to sign a law that they know that the attack is against Daniel, but the king was not aware. Reason.
He walked at it the whole day long.
He walked at it the whole. He was thinking to devise a medium all through the day.
But then the conspirators were back.
They came back. See it? They are not stagnant. They came back.
Remember, O king.
Remember, O king.
Is the law of the Medes and Persians.
That means they perceive that the king has a subtle part for Daniel. He has there is a law you can't explain he has for Daniel. They said, remember, there's a law. Risa.
Remember, O king, is the law of the Medes and Persians that the king's decree can never be changed.
That means they perceived that the king wanted to change the decree. So they hung him. They said, remember, your words is you can't change it. Your word is your bond. You can't change it.
The king caved in and ordered Daniel brought and thrown into the lion's den. But he said to Daniel, your God, to whom you are so loyal, is going to get you out of this.
Who said that? Remember, he wasn't a Jew. This man today, he will say he's not a born again, he's not a Christian. But the king said, Daniel, your God, the one you have been praying to, the one you have been committed in prayer to, the one you are loyal to, he will save you from this mess. So the king was prophesying of his safety. Can I talk to you? If you can pray today, you can turn any situation around for your good. The king prophesied. He said, your God, your God, your God, the one you have been committed to, loyal to, I am sure he will save you from this nonsense. Even though I signed it. But I know there is a God that can overtake. Risa. Somebody today, as you pray, things will turn around. Yeah.
Verse 17.
Yeah.
A stone slab was placed over the opening of the den. The king sealed the cover with his signet ring and the signet rings of all his nobles, fixing Daniel's fate. The king then went back to his palace.
Yeah.
He refused supper. He couldn't sleep.
He refused to eat.
He spent the night.
He refused to sleep.
He spent the night fasting.
You see God, the way he talks to me is too much. He said to me, next week, declare 3 days fasting and prayer in this church. Now, when he began to speak to me from Daniel 6 this morning, he also mentioned the king fasted. Sir, the one that signed the law was the one that fasted. Even though he was manipulated unknowingly to him, but he was not ignorant for fast. Risa. Many of you that cannot fast, sorry. You have not come face to face with a situation that is ready to swallow you. You have not seen the enemy with red eyes against your destiny. When you are confronted with enemies that has no sympathy, you understand the importance of prayer and fasting. When you have met a situation that is ready to tear you apart in less than 10 seconds, then you understand there is a need for fasting and prayer. When we say pray or fast, you play with it because you have not yet seen yet, or you have not yet realized some things. Read, sir.
At daybreak, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den.
He got up and hurried to the lion's den.
As he approached the den,
he
called out anxiously.
Daniel,
servant of the living God.
Can an enemy around you, can an idol worshiper around you still call you a servant of the living God? He called him the servant of the living God. Sir, that you are a servant of the living God does not stop